and we started from ولا يصح السلم حتى يقبض.
Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. ولا يصح السلم حتى يقبض رأس المال قبل أن يفارقه. So this is now talking about the continue from what we mentioned last week. We talked about future sales, yeah. So you basically give the money up front, and you wait for something to be ordered. It's an order basically. Yeah, so you don't have the goods, and we said technically this shouldn't be allowed Islamically, because we had a rule which was in fiqh, which was there's something that doesn't exist, you're not allowed to sell it. So because the guy, let's say the farmer or whatever, he doesn't have it with him, so you ordered 100 kilos of apples, you gave the money up front, or you paid it online or whatever, and now you're waiting for your order of apples to come. Technically shouldn't be allowed because the guy doesn't have them. But we said this was allowed because the Prophet ﷺ, he allowed it. And also that this transaction was a transaction that was needed by the farmers in the olden days. In the days of the Sahaba, the farmers needed money up front, because they're only going to get harvest once a year, or maybe twice a year. So they need cash to survive, to be able to do further businesses, to pay their employees, to buy equipment, to feed their families, etc. So the Prophet ﷺ, he permitted this contract of salam. So this salam contract is something which was permitted, and we said it's only allowed with certain conditions. And we said one of the conditions is that money has to be given up front. And another condition we mentioned was that the item, which we don't call it mabi in this case, we call it the Muslim fihi, has to be something that can be standardized. It can be weighed, it can be measured, it can be has small amounts which don't really differ that much. In today's times, because so many things can be standardized, it's almost permissible nearly everything now. Because nearly everything can be standardized in today's times. The customer gets exactly what he ordered, basically, which in the olden days the supplier couldn't provide it. So in today's times, cars, you can do salam on cars. Even like online businesses. Let's say you got an online business and you tell people that you can provide all these things. You haven't bought them, you don't have them. Where are you going to get them from? You're going to buy it from other wholesalers, or you're going to get it from abroad, or wherever you get it from, you're going to get it later on. So at the time of the contract, technically you don't have them. But then what happens is that you provide them, you give them to the people, and now you've got a contract. So this concept of salam is something which is very widespread now. Very, very widespread.
Is it also because back in them days they wouldn't have a picture, so if they were saying you provided this, the person would have known what.
That as well. They didn't have the. They couldn't standardize it. The word. They couldn't standardize things in them days. They used to give estimates, which wasn't enough for a customer. If you say to someone, for example, I'll get you a washing machine, it's not going to be enough. You've got to say, what kind of washing machine? Is it a 10 kilo washing machine? Is it, Philips? Is it Zanussi? Which company does it belong to? Is it something that can spin dry as well? Size of it. So all these things now are taken into consideration. This is why salam. And nowadays, Islamic banks that you have, or Islamic financial institutes, they use this concept of salam, and it's very widespread. Lots of businesses, right, wanna work. So if you're with if you got money in Islamic bank, right, the Islamic bank will actually buy some things of people, get it pre-ordered, and then obviously if you buy things pre-ordered, you get it cheaper than if you buy it cash on the spot. So that's why this is something that they do. So continue from what we talked about last time about salam. Even if you read, like if you go online if you Google it, you'll find they even use the word salam, or forward sale, future sale. They use these terms. ولا يصح السلم حتى يقبض رأس المال. Now there's a condition. Let's say for example, Imtiaz wants to order apples, okay? Or he wants to order cars, for instance. Whether Shakil's got cars, he can provide cars, and he wants to order them. So and the cars get ready in a certain time. So it's after a month, he's ordered them, and he wants them delivered in May, end of May. Now, from now, March, all the way till May, can Imtiaz go and sell the cars to someone else? So he's got some buyers. He's told some guys, you know what? I've got some cars coming into this country, brand new cars. They're not going to even come into England yet. They're going to come end of the year. I'm getting them in May. Do you guys want to buy them? Is he allowed to sell them?
Yeah.
No, he's not allowed to sell them.
Isn't that like Khiyar Buya? I'm giving
No,
you the description.
He's not allowed to sell it. Why is he not allowed to sell it?
He doesn't have possession.
Possession. He doesn't have possession. We only allow this in Salam because this was an exemption the Prophet ﷺ exempted. The general rule is if you don't possess something, you can't sell it. Does that make sense?
Regarding the wholesaler to sell it, but not the individual.
Yeah, individual can't. Until he gets it. Because he might not get it. Let's say the transaction doesn't go through. Something happens and it gets cancelled. That means there's going to be people on the other end who will be affected by this. Potentially they can go and sell it on to someone else. They can go and sell it on to someone else. Yeah, and then what happens? Everyone's affected. So do you want a society where people have tied their money on certain transactions and there's a very strong chance that that transaction won't go through? And if one transaction doesn't go through, it means all of their transactions don't go through. And lots of businesses rely on this. So there has to be qabd, like we said before. Yeah? Okay. Now there are obviously, you know, places out there that go and sell something before possession has taken place. Yeah? And this is, like I said, according to Hanafis not allowed, but according to the Malikis, this concept is permissible. Because they say, Imam Malik, rahimahullah, he brings a chapter in Muwatta regarding selling food, perishable goods, before possession has taken place. And the hadith that he quotes in there, he quotes Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu's hadith about this, about the impermissibility of selling something that you don't possess. So if you don't possess it, you can't sell it, but it conditions it with food, perishable goods. Therefore, non-perishable goods can be sold without even possessing. Have you got that? So maybe, I mean, if the Maliki position was taken in this time, there was a need for it, a big business that relies on this. Sometimes they'll have to be like a middleman, buy things from people before it actually comes to them, sell it on to other people. Yeah, that's impossible.
So Maliki said you can't do it in perishable goods.
You can't do imperishable goods, but everything else you can do it. We mentioned this, remember we talked about transferable goods. You can't sell them before possessions were taken. And Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Abu Yusuf says you can do it in property because the likelihood of property getting damaged is very unlikely, the risk. So لا يصح السلم حتى يقبض رأس المال. رأس المال, I actually have jumped to another masala. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm going to go back to this one. So I went to another masala, which is going to come a bit later. But this is before that, which is the money, the cash. So remember we said Imtiaz has to give the cash straight away, yeah? So let's say for example today at 8 o'clock today in the evening, Imtiaz has a transaction with Shakil. He has to give the cash there and then. Transfer has to be made there. And then only after that can the salam go through. Have you got that? This is what it's saying. لا يصح السلم, salam transaction not permissible حتى يقبض رأس المال, until Shakil takes possession of the cash, the sum. قبل أن يفارقه, before separation. This is, all the scholars say this. It's only like the Malikis who actually say 2 or 3 days gap is permissible. So the payment can be deferred by 2 or 3 days. And they've got some other conditions attached to it. But everyone else is unanimous in this, that it has to be given there and then. Okay.
So as opposed, so if someone's not given the money, if somebody wants to give it 3 days later, then can't they just do the contract 3 days later?
That's it, that's what Hanafi is saying.
Oh, okay.
But legally the transaction wouldn't have gone through today.
Oh, okay. So I see.
Okay. Next. This is one I was talking about earlier. لا يجوز التصرف. Sorry, slides come. Let's go. لا يجوز التصرف في رأس المال. Now, let's say for instance this happens. Imtiaz is saying to Shakil, they're in this gathering now, 8 o'clock. Imtiaz is saying to Shakil, I'm going to give you £1,000 for, £100 for 100 kilos of apples. Yeah, and Shakil says, it's fine. Money hasn't been given over yet. Shakil is he's already made a deal with someone that he's going to buy some things with this money. Can he do that? No. Until he takes possession. So just as the contract of Salam cannot go through without money being taken to possession, Shakil is not allowed to deal with this money before he takes possession. Once he takes possession, now he can start buying things with this. Yeah, so that's لا يجوز التصرف. Tasarruf just means dealings, buying, selling, giving it to someone. في رأس المال. ولا في المسلم فيه. This is the masla that we want to come to now. Nor are you allowed to do any dealings with the Muslim فيه قبل القبض. Yeah, so this was like 8 o'clock today. Imtiaz, he goes and what does he do? He goes and gives the money. Now, the order is going to come in May. So Imtiaz, he speaks to some of his mates on the weekend, and his mates say, we're interested in those cars. We want to buy them off you. Right? He goes, sorry, I can't do it. When that date comes, then I promise you that I'll sell it to you. But he cannot do a transaction with them. Yeah? So, وَلَا فِي الْمُسْلَمْ فِيهِ. Nor is it permissible in the Muslim فِيهِ قَبْلَ الْقَبْض. Before he takes possession of it. Once he comes into his possession, now what can he do? Yeah, he can go and sell it now. And remember, the concept of possession in Islam is basically that you have the ability to be able to access it. Yeah, so if he lives in a warehouse, but you got access to that warehouse, that means you got possession. You don't have to touch it with your hands, or you got the documents regarding it. Okay, next. So now we've established Imtiaz is not allowed to sell this prior possession. Is Imtiaz allowed to get someone else as a partner in this business? So let's say Imtiaz got a good deal, 100 kilos of apples for I don't know, for let's say £50, very, very cheap. Yeah. And this normally this stuff would cost £500 normally. He's got it really cheap. So he's told someone else about it, and another guy goes, can I be your partner in this as well? We split it 50-50. Before May, he says to his partner, you give me half the money, and be my partner. Is that allowed?
No.
Yeah? Not allowed. Because that's still dealing with it. You're still doing some sort of dealing, transaction with it. You can't do that. لا يجوز الشركة. You can't do shirka in there as well. Yeah?
But can they both go and buy it together?
They can buy it together, that's fine, as partners,
Yeah.
or even as two separate contracts on the receipt. Yeah, but they cannot become a partner until May, when he receives the goods. Okay, next. Is he allowed to do tawliya, meaning Imtiaz, a guy comes to Imtiaz and he says to him, look, I'll buy these things off you. We know it's not allowed, you're not allowed to sell it before possession. We know you can't become partner, but what if we did tawliya, where you sell it to me for exactly the same price you're giving to Shakil? Is that allowed? No, because you're still dealing with it before possession. The whole idea is you cannot transfer ownership to someone else in any partial way fully before possession. So ولا التولية في المسلم فيه قبل قبضه. Cannot do that. Yeah. Once you get it, then you can transfer. Banks, Islamic banks have this concept of called parallel salam. Yeah, but that only works after possession's taken place. So once they receive the goods, so usually, like I said, if you do order, you probably get half price from what you'd get if you did it on the spot. So if you get an order of stuff from like Alibaba, yeah, you get like very, very cheap, right? If you buy it single, you get it expensive, but in a bulk, you get it cheap. So you buy all this lots of stuff, then what do? You sell it. Yeah. So after that, you can do that, but before that, you can't. Okay, next.
So starting with the stuff that's coming in May,
Yeah.
for Imtiaz, he can't sell it because he doesn't have possession. But the person he's bought it from, does he have possession of it in China and he's delivering it in May?
He doesn't have possession, does he? Remember we said the whole reason this contract theoretically is not supposed to be allowed. Because Shakil's selling something he doesn't have possession of.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. No, so my question is, so
But
Shakil is selling something that he doesn't have possession with, but he's allowed to sell it.
Yeah.
But he can't sell something that he doesn't have possession. So why
It's
is
a
it?
specific exemption. Just
Because we said that, because that's exempted and that's a salam. The Prophet ﷺ exempted the farmers to do this, but they can't extend it to other people. That same contract cannot be extended to another person.
First line of the chain.
So basically, just a wholesaler.
Yeah.
Individually, shopkeeper can't sell it.
So you can't do like a salam and a salam and a salam and a salam. You can't do multiple salams in one.
Oh, okay. So Shakil is probably getting it for someone who already has it.
Or himself, his own company, or wherever he's getting it from.
You might be manufacturing, you might not be actually
Yeah.
made.
He might be buying it.
Mm.
He might be buying it from someone else.
So how do you know if that person is doing salam already? So whether you can do salam?
What do you mean?
So how do I know that he doesn't have possession of it?
You don't need to know if he's got possession of it. The whole idea of salam is that I say to a farmer, look, at the end of the year I need 100 kilos of apples.
Yeah.
Does he have the apples? Are they grown?
No, I'm thinking more. Yeah.
Are they grown? Yes or no?
No.
No on it. So what is he selling? Nothing.
Yeah.
He's got nothing. But it's still allowed because the Prophet ﷺ allowed it for the needs of the society.
And then from that we say cars, for example.
Yeah.
In today's society we can standardize
Yeah.
it, so we extend that to cars.
Yeah.
So if you're selling cars, but he doesn't have the cars,
Yeah.
and he's selling it to me,
Yeah.
I can't sell.
So he doesn't.
cars.
Okay. So he doesn't have the cars.
Yeah.
He's selling the cars to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is he going to do? He's going to buy them, isn't he?
Yeah.
What kind of transaction is he going to do?
Uh,
A normal transaction. He's going to buy it from
Yeah.
from a showroom or from the company, abroad.
Yeah.
He's going to buy it directly from them
Yeah.
because he knows the guy contacts. He gets it very cheap
Okay.
and he can sell it at a higher rate to him.
Okay. So he buys a normal, and then because he doesn't have possession, so that's salam.
Yeah.
To him. Okay. But then how does he know that he doesn't already have possession?
I think what he's trying to say is that I get what
I think what you're saying is how
basically.
what if Shakil is doing salam with somebody else?
That's fine. He can sell drugs if he wants. Doesn't matter. Legally, if he gets caught, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. All he has to know is that can he provide them by mail or not. He doesn't have to do the Sherlock Holmes,
Yeah.
an investigation of how he's getting them.
No, I'm thinking if he wants to sell them on, then how come he can sell them on without possession, but he can't sell them on without possession?
Because we said, look, this contract between them, this is a salam contract, cannot be extended to anyone else.
Okay.
It's only between them two.
So what's not what your reason said that nowadays, right, you could have many middlemen.
Yeah.
The wholesaler here in Birmingham is getting from a wholesaler in London who's getting in exchange from somebody in a port in say China. That guy's getting it
I'm
from
guessing-
another supplier.
I'm guessing a
So
salam.
he's saying all these people are in a chain. But at the end, the guy can't do it.
Yeah. So he cannot go and do it to someone else because this transaction legally is not allowed. Islamically is not allowed.
Okay.
The Prophet has only allowed it between one customer and one seller, that's all. So it cannot be gone
Kills it off.
forwarded to everyone else. Does that make sense?
There's no chain involved.
Yeah, no change involved. Does that make sense? Okay. So next, look at this. What about clothes? So remember we said in the olden days cloths was usually made by hand, so therefore the size of the cloth, the quality of the cloth, all these things were affected. You couldn't standardize it. But in them days there were certain types of expensive cloths that you could standardize. So if you can standardize a cloth, can you sell it through salam? Yes, why not? Yasihhu salam. Now in my version I've got la yasih. It's not, I don't think it's supposed to be la yasih because the masala don't make sense. Yeah, but it's supposed to be yasihhu salam. You got yasih here. Yasihhu salam. Salam is valid fi thiyab, in clothing. Yeah, so in cloth it's valid. إذا سمى طولا وعرضا. If a person he describes the length, the width, والرقعة, and the quality of the cloth, the type of material that they want.
This is what people probably do nowadays.
Yeah, what you do like online when you buy stuff, this is how it usually works. Yeah, a lot of cloth you buy, a lot of material that you buy is you deal with the person online. They don't really have that stuff. They buy it off someone else. Yeah, so when they buy it off someone else, they get it to you. Does that make sense? Okay. وَلَا يَجُوزُ السَّلْمُ. Now, like we said, in today's times, nearly everything can be standardized, apart from there's still those few things that still can't be standardized. For example, like diamonds. Yeah, you got some diamonds, what do? You order some diamonds from, I don't know, South Africa or somewhere, in the diamond mines. Now when you order those diamonds, not possible for you to get the diamonds exactly the same. However, if you can standardize a particular type of diamond, where they give you the exact cuttings and shapes, which you probably can do in certain types of diamonds, then it's allowed. Yeah, but if it's those special precious diamonds that is only one of a kind, unique, then because they're not standardized, you can't provide it. Yeah, so لا يجوز السلم في الجواهر. You cannot do salam in jawahir, precious stones. ولا في الخرز, pearls as well. Yeah, same with pearls, because pearls, you can't really create pearls. Pearls are just, naturally found in the sea. So these are something that are unique. Okay, what about doing salam in bricks, house bricks, building bricks, air bricks? Can you do in those? Yeah, they can be standardized. As long as the description given to the dealer, he can be fulfilled. Yeah, so لا بأس بالسلم, there's nothing wrong with salam في اللبن. This is not laban, labin with the kasra. Yeah, bricks. والآجر, so labin and ajur, baked and unbaked bricks. إذا سمى ملبنا معلوما, so long as the person describes the mold. Nowadays, obviously there are different ways that bricks are made. Some are made by machines, some are made by even hand made today as well. So as long as the dealer can provide the description that you want, then it's a fair transaction. You understand that? Okay. So what's the rule? The rule is this: كل ما أمكن ضبط صفته, every single thing where its description can be given precisely, standardized. ومعرفة مقداره, and knowing its amount, then it's permissible. Salam in is permissible. Like for example, chairs, these chairs. Let's say I want to order 100 of these chairs. Can I do salam in there? Let's say I want to order 100 Samsung phones. Can I do salam in there? Let's say I want to order cups. You can do salam in everything now. But those unique things that are like handmade paintings, or certain things that are unique to people, then you can't do salam in those. Yeah. Okay. Okay. وَمَا لَا يُمْكِنْ ضَبْطُ صِفَتِهِ, and those things in which its description and amount cannot be precisely given, لَا يَجُوزُ السَّلَمْ فِيهِ. You cannot do salam in those things. Okay. I mean, easier way to understand it is nowadays online, anything you can buy online, you get the exact description. They even give you like a long, sometimes like half a page of just description, describing everything that you never heard of before, but they'll describe it in great detail. You want to buy like a plastic cover for your phone, they'll give you like the diameters of the plastic cover, they'll give you what material it's made from, they'll give you, the density of it, everything, things that you probably don't even need to know. But we mentioned those things, remember, those 7 things according to Imam Hanifa, 5 things according to Imam Yusuf.
So if they just use a picture and no description, is that still acceptable? Or?
But see, that's fine, as long as, it's something which, you're not going to really argue about. But the problem is, if the picture is deceiving, deceptive, then that's going to affect the transaction. Alright, salam is all finished now. Now, here, it's not mentioned here, but normally they mention a different chapter with salam, which is istisna. Istisna. Istasna yastasni'u istisna. Istisna is manufacturing. So this is different from salam. Istisna basically is like a tailor. When you go to a tailor and you want to make clothes for you. Yeah, what happens? He doesn't have them, does he? He might have the material, but he doesn't have everything made. So therefore, this shouldn't be allowed as well. But this was allowed, not because the Prophet ﷺ, he said it's allowed, but because the Sahaba were doing it in their days. Therefore, logically it should be allowed then. So because the Prophet ﷺ was amongst them and they were doing these transactions, like the tailor stitches, or for example, like you go to DFS, where you want to get your sofa made, you give them the description, and they'll say, okay, in a month's time it's going to be made. Yeah. So this is known as istisna, not salam. The rulings of istisna are different from salam. In salam, the money has to be given up front. In istisna, you don't have to give the money up front.
In istisna, in most cases, people do pay the money up front.
No, it's up to them. If they want to give it, it's fine. But they don't have to.
But wouldn't that become salam then?
No. Salam is something in which you're not making it. You're getting it from someone else. Yeah, but if you're manufacturing it yourself, you're making it yourself, then it becomes, it's called istisna. Yeah, so anything which is going to be made, you call this istisna. Building something or anything like that.
So, Ustad, in this, does there have to be a specification and it has to be
Yeah, you obviously described it in your clothing.
Mm.
Yeah, or whatever you're going to make. You'll say, look, I want like this size. I want it this shape.
And where's the kind of protection for the manufacturer in terms of if he creates it to the specification, does that person then have to pay?
Yeah, legally he has to. Yes, yeah, he has to. Because they come into a contract. So you can take him to court if he doesn't pay. Okay. Right, so that's basically all you need to know. These are the two transactions, salam and istisna. Legally they're not supposed to be allowed, but they've been allowed. Salam through the Prophet ﷺ and istisna through the practice of the Sahaba. And a lot of things that happen nowadays are done through this as well. Yeah, a lot of the transactions are done through salam and istisna. And Islamic banks, when they deal with like a transaction, they deal with a lot of salam transactions. Yeah. Okay. Now this is like a miscellaneous few lines to the end of the chapter. Miscellaneous few lines. Okay, so he says, وَيَجُوزُ بَيْءُ الْكَلْبِ. Dogs, fahad, leopards, siba, wild animals, you're allowed to sell those according to Hanafis. Why are you allowed to sell these for? Because if you remember, we said in transactions, the main thing to remember is anything that is beneficial to the public, anything that has benefit and categorically is not haram in Sharia, like pig, then you can sell them. So pig is just absolutely not permissible, can't sell it, right? But anything besides that, as long as the people are going to benefit, so like dogs, nowadays blind dogs, security dogs, farm dogs, yeah, all sorts of dogs, you're allowed to sell those. Yeah, so you're allowed to sell dogs. Therefore, if you're allowed to sell it, that means the money you make from selling a dog is permissible. There are some hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, he said that money that's earned by someone who does cupping, money that's earned by a prostitute, and money that's earned by selling dogs is filth. Yeah, because that was because the prohibition of dogs in Islam was done in Medina. The Prophet ﷺ, he banned dogs. So the rules regarding dogs were very strict. Having a dog in your house makes you lose reward every day. Any house that has a dog in there, angels won't come into that house. Yeah, if a dog licks a bowl, you have to wash it this many times. So the rulings were very strict. But then later on, the Prophet ﷺ, he uplifted the rulings. So that's why if the transaction, if the commodity that you're selling is beneficial to the public, then it's allowed.
So why cupping? Is cupping?
Because they said because cupping was considered to be in them days one of the filthiest jobs, because they used to suck out the blood with their mouth, yeah, and that, you know, a lot of germs and a lot of filth. So this was considered to be one of the filthiest jobs.
So is it okay now?
So then when the Prophet looked at some of the ways they used to do it, he allowed it. Yeah, so now it's a clean job, very, very clean, hygienic. Okay, so fahad is a leopard or a cheetah. Siba, any predatory animal. So nowadays because you can use these animals for different jobs. Yeah, they can be an animal that can be used for hunting or any other thing.
And so is this just now talking about normal trading, or is this?
Yeah, just normal trade.
Okay, so
Salam's finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rulings are on salam. There are other things about salam which advanced books mention. Yeah, but if you want to read more about it, then Mufti Taqi Usmani's got a book called Introduction to Trade, something like that. Introduction to Business or Trade. Islamic Finance. Introduction to Islamic Finance. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, it's got a section on there on salam and istisna, how it's used in Islamic banks. So if you read that, you'll understand it. What he's talking about and how Islamic banks of today, they use this. Because if you understand this, basically, if you understand this, you can become an advisor to an Islamic bank or Islamic, companies. Because they need people who know this information to give them ideas of products, of how to create products for businesses. So that's technically what it is. Okay.
So did you know in this one where dogs, cheetahs and all that,
Yeah.
doesn't matter what intention it's used for?
I mean, you're not going to obviously go to everyone, what are you using it for? Yeah,
That's what I mean.
you're just going to provide it.
Okay.
You're just going to provide the dog. The sin is up to them. Yeah, whatever you sell grapes. If someone wants to make alcohol from there, that's up to them. You're not going to question everyone. So Islamically, you don't have to go and become Sherlock Holmes, yeah, and try to find out, what are you doing with it?
I'm just thinking.
You're buying this knife, yeah, what are you going to do with it?
I'm just thinking, if you do know why they're taking it or why they're buying it, does their sin come up on you?
No, you won't. Okay, so وَلَا يَجُوزُ بَيْءُ الْخَمْرِ وَالْخِنْزِيرِ. And the scholars have actually discussed about keeping pets and keeping dogs. Yeah, they've even mentioned things like you're allowed to sell a cat as well. Cats are allowed. What are you going to do with a cat? Yeah, catch mice. Yeah, selling birds. Yeah, selling other animals like fish. Selling these kind of things. You're allowed to sell these kind of things if there's a benefit for it. So some of the scholars even discuss, what if keeping like a pet, it calms people's nerves. It makes them less lonely. Yeah, saves them from depression. Yeah, it makes them feel safe at home. So many things. Yeah, so just because you don't like dogs, it doesn't mean that other people don't have a benefit for the dog. Could be.
What about zoos? People go there just for entertainment. They're not having a specific purpose.
Yeah.
So I mean,
It's knowledge.
Huh?
Maybe they're trying to gain knowledge.
About what, zoos? Yeah, I mean, it could be. You're learning about animals. You want to see about what the animals are like. Remember, it's the kind of image that people get is, in Islam you can't do anything. Yeah, you just buy a house. Yeah, make it very simple. Have no TV in there. Yeah, electricity, bare electricity. Yeah, don't even have a big house. Just buy a small house somewhere. Even if you got a big house, break it down small. Yeah, don't sleep on a bed. Sleep on the floor. Yeah, this is the kind of image that some people have. Which is, if you look in the past, the first zoos that came into Europe came into Spain, Muslim Spain. The Muslims in Spain, they brought zoos there. They tried to bring all animals around the world to see if they could live there. And they made the first botanical gardens. They had the first, horse competitions. Yeah. So if you look at the history, how Muslims used to live, you find it very different from what the fiqh says. So remember, you're not supposed to rearrange your whole life based on what the fiqh says. You're supposed to live your life and just adjust those things in your life, just so that it fits the fiqh. There's a difference between the two. So what tends to happen in this country is, or for a lot of us, is when we start practicing, we try to think, okay, how should I live my life according to Islam, Quran and Sunnah now? So you think that in the past, everyone had a standard way of living their life. Yeah, people used to pour the milk in their cornflakes the same way. People used to stir the spoon in the pot the same way. It wasn't like that. Yeah, they used to live their life, whatever culture they were from, but they would just adjust those little things in their life that need to be adjusted for. So to make it, permissible. So that's how we have to see these things. And if you look, for example, in Pakistan, yeah, a lot of places, they've got dogs. So many places they have dogs. It's like culture to have dogs. It's not like just like keeping a dog just for the sake of it. They're for other reasons. It's a family thing as well. And pets as well, different types of pets. And the scholars even discuss monkeys. Can you keep monkeys or not? Yeah, so they say that, some scholars say that Imam Hanifa says impermissible. Some people know he says it's permissible because monkeys, can help you in certain things. There are different types of monkeys. Yeah, they could help you in things. Whereas, some people say it's not allowed because it's just waste of time. Yeah, keeping pigeons as well. Anyway, so لا يجوز بيع الخمر والخنزير. These are categorical things. Two things categorical in Islam which is impermissible. You cannot sell alcohol and swine. You cannot sell it. Doesn't matter what happens in society. You cannot sell it. Right? These are two things you can't do.
So is this alcohol as in for just normal drinking or medicinal purpose?
This is khamar, which was made, according to Hanafis, made from Imam Hanifa made from grapes and dates. Yeah, and as I mentioned, according to Sahibain, they say any intoxicant is called alcohol. Yeah, so if it has a purpose, according to Imam Hanifa, if it's not made from grapes and dates, and you can sell it. Yes, so most synthesized alcohols are fine. It's said. Okay. وَلَا يَجُوزُ بَيْءُ الدُّودِ الْقَزِّ. Now there's a concept in fiqh which is to do with the idea that when we have insects, what's the ruling of an insect? So insect is considered to be the filth. Yeah, khaba'ith they're called. They're filth. So therefore, just as you're not allowed to consume them, you're also not allowed to sell them. So therefore the question comes is about, what about silkworms? Yeah, can you sell silkworms? The worms. Because the worms excrete silk, and the silk is collected and then it's made into cloth. So can you sell those worms? So there was a discussion about this amongst the Hanafis. Imam Hanifa and Imam Abu Yusuf say, no, you can't. Because they're the filth, and so hence you cannot sell the filth. But
Silk is allowed. Silk that is.
yeah, the silk is allowed.
So it's the worm.
The worm is not allowed. So Imam Abu Yusuf, Abu Yusuf and Imam Hanifa, they say it's permissible if you sell it with the silk. So let's say, for example, if you ever seen them, these factories, they have like a big massive trough, lots of silkworms in there, and they're just busy all days making silk. And then if you were to sell all of that with the silk with it, so the primary sale is not the worms, it's the silk, and that just comes with it, as on the side. That's allowed. But Imam Muhammad rahimahullah, he actually says that it's permissible. You can sell, because if you can sell silk, you need to be able to provide the silk. So you can sell their worms. And his fatwa is taken by the later scholars.
Yeah, because it has
Yeah.
the benefit.
Has the benefit. Okay, well, nahl. What about bees? Can you sell bees, wasps? Yeah. So again, Imam Hanifa and Imam Yusuf say no, you can't sell them unless you sell it with the beehive. Sell the beehive, and then you can sell it. Okay, but the later Hanafis have taken Imam Muhammad's position on this, like Qazi Khan and others who say that it's permissible. You can sell it. Okay, next, non-Muslims living in an Islamic country, what's their ruling? Can they? What things can they buy? What thing can they sell? So according to us, remember I told you before that they can have their own common law amongst themselves, so long as it's not, things which are of penalties. And here he says, Ahlul Dhimmati, the non-Muslims living in Islamic state, in their transactions are exactly like Muslims, meaning they have the same rights. The same things that they can do, the Muslims can do, they can do. The same things Muslims are not allowed to do, they can't do. Illa, except in one thing, fil khamri wal khinzir khasatan. When it comes to alcohol, when it comes to swine, they're allowed to sell amongst each other. But Muslims can't. They can't sell to Muslims. So this is where they, in their own localities, they can have like pork, they can have pork farms, they can sell pork, they can sell, alcohol amongst each other, make it, that's fine.
So is it, in an Islamic state, is it okay to sell like non?
Yeah, it's fine, but it's not supposed to be like sold in the main cities.
Oh,
So it can be sold in like outside suburban areas,
yeah.
but not in the main cities. Okay, so this is why for them it's allowed. And usually when people live, they live in their own communities. So if you ever looked at Islamic country, you live where the non-Muslims live, they all live together. Where the Muslims live, they live together. Yeah, you don't really get people. You get some areas, but they don't like mix with each other fully.
If a non-Muslim sells one of these to a Muslim, is that allowed?
Not allowed.
What about the other way around?
No. Muslim is not allowed to buy or sell alcohol and swine at all.
Even
For anyone.
because like you have a lot of tourist places.
It doesn't matter, tourist places, not allowed, why? They are not allowed. So the way that the Muslim countries will get around it is they'll allow the non-Muslims to sell that. So if they've got like a big department store, they'll have like a butcher's, non-Muslim butchers, and they'll say only for non-Muslims. And they'll have their own, sell their own stuff. You get it in Dubai and some places. Everyone got that? Okay, again, this is like this concept, the misunderstanding people have, that in an Islamic country, non-Muslims can't do anything. They can't even have pigs, and they can't have alcohol, and they can't do anything. No, they can. They can have it. Yeah. In fact, in some of the books it's even mentioned, like even for example, like the certain fiqh things which they find in their fiqh permissible, in their law, their religious law, they find it permissible. Even though Muslims don't find it permissible, they can do it. Like marrying amongst each other. Yeah. And even some madhabs, they've even allowed incest between themselves. Like some Persians, they allowed incest. Mother can marry son and sister and brother. In their own communities, they can do it. Yeah. So these kind of things are allowed amongst themselves. And this was the wisdom of the Prophet ﷺ as well, that Islam does not come to impose on everyone Islamic law. Yeah. So they can continue the way they're living, as long as it's not something categorical that all society is considered to be totally wrong. Then they won't allow it. So, and this is interesting because if two non-Muslims, husband and wife, accept Islam, Islam will recognize their previous marriage. They don't have to renew their marriage again. So like two Hindus accept Islam, Their marriage is fine. As long as in their faith, their religion was recognized. Yeah, or two atheists were married and they become Muslim. Their matrimony will be considered to be valid. Okay. فَإِنَّ أَقْدَهُمْ عَلَى الْخَمْرِ, because their contract when it comes to alcohol كَعَقْدِ الْمُسْلِمِ عَلى الْعَصِيرِ, is like the contract of a Muslim when they sell juice. So when a Muslim sells another Muslim apple juice, is that allowed? Yeah. For them, buying and selling alcohol is for us buying and selling juice. وَعَقْدُهُمْ عَلى الْخِنْزِيرِ كَعَقْدِ الْمُسْلِمِ عَلى الشَّاةِ, and them selling amongst each other swine, pork, is like a Muslim selling amongst each other sheep, goat. Everyone got that?
So, you know, you said a Muslim can't deal, buy, sell alcohol. Just say if someone's working for like Asda or something.
Yeah.
And they're not directly selling it themselves, but they work on the tills or something.
Yeah.
They put the transaction through. Is that valid for that person?
So, I mean, this is the kind of question which Mufti Taqi Usmani answers. And he says that in societies where you have this kind of situation, then it's permissible based on the idea that the income that's coming in through that business, majority of it is halal. So long as majority of it is halal, then it's fine. Have you got that? So that's why that would be permissible in that sense. But something like interest would not be allowed. So if you're working in a bank, cashier, you're not allowed. It's not allowed to do that, because you're directly supporting the interest transaction. Because that is totally impermissible, even between non-Muslims in Islamic State, not permissible. But selling alcohol amongst themselves, because there's scope for that, like the impermissibility of it is less than the impermissibility of.
So you can work in Tesco on the till, but you can't work in a pub.
And you can't work in the bank.
Yeah, so because the pub is just purely,
Yeah.
it's more than 50% of the income is haram, then you wouldn't be allowed to.
Non-Muslims can't do interest between themselves as well.
Muslims cannot do interest.
No, non-Muslims, they can't do it between themselves.
Non-Muslims cannot do. In an Islamic country, no. Absolutely not. Because this is something that's going to affect the economy. So alcohol is not going to affect the economy, it's going to affect their own selves.
So these Islamic banks, are they kind of monitored by any alims or?
Yeah.
Are
They have something called advisory boards, Islamic advisory boards. So basically what they do, advisory board is just there so they can run everything past them. So they'll say, for example, like, look, we've got these 5 products. Yeah, Murabaha, Musharaka, Salam, Tawliya, the same ones that we've done. They've got them as well. But what they do is they try and adjust them in such a way that they can accommodate them in this like financial system. So sometimes they might have like a transaction, they call these kind of things sukuks. It's like a replacement of bonds, where bonds is basically, the government wants to build a bridge, so they need £1 million to build this bridge. They don't have that funds. Yeah. So what they do is they ask investors, you borrow us each, £10,000, and 1,000 people they ask, and then what happens? 100 people they ask. Each person gives 1,000, and they'll say, in return we'll give you 1,500 in return, guaranteed. So this is a very good interest. This is a very good transaction for them. But because it's based on interest, you're borrowing money, and you're going to get interest back. Not allowed Islamically. So bonds are not allowed. Yeah, these kind of bonds, coupon bonds or.
What about the banks, like Al-Ain Bank?
So what the Islamic banks do, they replace this system with something called sukuks. It's called a sak, which is like a kind of you own a bit of that business, so you have an asset, so you get like a profit from the business. So if there's like a Kickstarter business that wants to start up, and it needs like £100,000 start up, you get some guys together, and then you tell them, look, okay, you guys borrow me this much money, and anything I make, I'll give you whatever percentage you've invested in there. You get that, and then at the end, I'll buy your share of you. So it's like a share, you can say.
But then
it was restricted.
Option, you don't have to sell the share then.
Yeah, but they've got different products in it.
Rayan, I've got this one thing. They just say if you put in like £1,000 or something, but you have to keep it in there for a fixed term for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and then you'll get like 1 or 2% back.
Yeah.
So how do they do that?
It depends on what product it is, isn't it?
So
you got to look at the product. So whenever someone asks you a question about is this business allowed, you got to look at the terms and conditions. How does it work? What are the What are you buying into? You know, so if it's something which is illegal, then there's permissibility for it. And if it's something illegal, like they got conditions, shart in there, or they're dealing in something which is interest based, that wouldn't be allowed. So what they try to do is they try to replicate everything that's in conventional banks. They try to replicate them, but with an Islamic kind of, they Islamize it. That's what they do. They Islamize these, and this is where a lot of the scholars, they're against this. They say short term it will work. Like for example, Islamic mortgages don't work. It's only for the elite and rich. Yeah, because you're going to pay a much higher rate if you're going to do an Islamic mortgage than a non-conventional mortgage. Yeah, so Islamic mortgage basically works where it's like a kind of, you're asking someone to buy something for you and then you're buying it off them. That's what you're doing. But they're selling it to a higher rate so that they don't have to go into the inflation issue. So to overcome inflation, they'll just say, look, we're going to have a fixed amount you got to pay us right at the end of it. Are you happy with that? And you go, yeah, happy with that. That's how they make their money. Whereas, it's not for the average person can't afford that. So this is why long term, short term, it's a good idea. It's trying to help the economy. Long term, it's not a solution for the world. Big companies cannot buy into the Islamic way. Microsoft and these companies, they can't do it. Because if they were to invest all in Islamic ways, it'd go bust. Because they're so well kind of grounded in interest. It's very difficult for them to get out of it. So there has to be like a more robust system in place. And they're trying to work on it slowly. Because they only really started from the 1970s, end of the 60s, where Islamic forms of trade, they started to pop up everywhere. But these are the main ones. And hopefully, inshallah, if I cover a good section of this, I'll try to go over some of the main kind of forms of trade in Islamic banks. The ones they do: salam, musharaka, murabaha, tawliya, sukuk, tawarruq. Yeah, there's these famous ones that you do. And if you understand these fully, then you can become an advisor for the bank. So the advisor simply is just a Molvi Sahib, a scholar, a glorified Molvi, who's done some expertise degree, MA, whatever, PhD in Islamic finance, and he knows a bit about normal finance, and he just advised them. He says to them, okay, this product will not be allowed according to Islamic, but if you adjust this inside of it, it will become allowed. Whether that bank implements that, that's up to them. Sometimes you might look at a bank and they might say on the board you got Mufti Imran, who's Mufti Taqi Saab's son or his nephew, and you got this Mufti and you got this Sheikh and you got Fulan. But then the way they implement it is totally against that. Because legally they don't have to follow what the Islamic board says. It's not like someone just puts a halal sticker, a label on a shop. They have to kind of...
Sorry, isn't it too simplistic to say that the banks are taking advantage of Muslims' vulnerability to go into mortgages and get their own houses, and they want to do it in a halal way?
Which banks? Islamic banks.
And they're making more money out of it.
Islamic banks.
Yeah.
No, because see, for them to run a business, how are they going to run it? You got people who have to have sustained jobs in it. So people working in the Islamic bank, you got to remember they're human beings as well. They need to earn as well. They can get a job in the finance sector and earn loads of money, but they want to kind of make it easier for other Muslims. So they're doing a kind of service as well. They've tapped into a market out there, a Muslim market out there, who's ready to pay.
They're high rates, aren't they?
Yeah, what can we do?
It's not a perfect system.
Not a perfect system. So if you look at it and think, you know what, these guys should be doing it for free, then it's the same argument where people say Molvis should be teaching for free. Yeah, there's people out there that can't afford £40 a month. Yeah, why don't you have it free? See, then it kind of, you got to think of, society doesn't work like that.
If you go to places where there aren't a lot of Muslims, just buying halal meat is more expensive. Nowadays here, halal meat is often cheaper than Tesco or whatever. But you go to towns where there are no Muslim shops, and one Muslim opens a shop to try and get halal meat. He's got to get that transported from further, make arrangements. He has to charge more money for that.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing, even with halal meat, for example, just because it's from HMC doesn't mean it's ethically something which is good. The way they're being slaughtered, because HMC doesn't mean it's a factory. HMC is simply, you got some guys that go around with a board in their hand and they're just making sure everything's being done. Tick it off. As long as the box are ticked off, that's their day's done. So are those animals being treated correctly? Are they being fed properly? Are they being handled in the right way? That's something you should be concerned about. And organic halal meat is something no one wants to pay for. You don't pay for that.
Even organic eggs, nobody wants to pay for that.
Organic eggs.
The cheap ones.
But yeah, there's a lot because the problem is you
one
think
organic chicken. There's a place that we look from. They're saying it's about 18-20 quid for one chicken.
Yeah, that's if you think about it. In the olden days, they hardly used to eat meat. It was a rarity. Yeah, and so they used to save their money to buy the meat. And nowadays we get it so cheap. It's like cod. If you go to Asda Tesco, you look for one cod piece. It's like £5.50 just for one fillet. And if you go to chip shop, they'll give you chips and a cod as well. £4.50. And you're thinking, so wait a minute. So how are these guys getting it? Yeah, these guys are like just harvesting it and mad.